Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately titled IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association, and as part of our efforts to promote play, we've introduced Porch Play Chats, and there's more than 200 of them that are free to you. You can find those Porch Play Chats by going to our website at ipausa.org. Up in the top right-hand corner is our YouTube channel, our Facebook page, our Instagram, and now our Spotify channel. And you can subscribe, be a friend, follow, join, anything you want to do on any of those. And magically, every Monday morning, a new Porch Play Chat will appear in your feed. I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm president of IPA USA. With me on the porch today is Tamara Jouval.
Hello.
Tamara began her career in early education by operating a home-based after-school childcare, serving the children in her neighborhood elementary school. She has a unique experience of caring for the same children, often spanning 7 consecutive years. She self-defines her role as a fun facilitator. She sees herself as under no obligation to teach a curriculum, so she's developed her own way of following the needs of children with information gathered and processed over more than 20 years. She combines her childhood play memories and her experience as parenting 2 now grown children and has created Tamara's Play Studio. And today, Tamara's talking to us about play and neurodiversity, which I think is so important for us to begin to recognize. So go for it.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, it's a big topic.
It is a big topic.
I'm not an expert in any way. I did not study any of this, but only what I have gathered over the years reading books. But from my own experience, my whole family's filled with a lot of neurodiversity, and I'm included in that, not knowing I probably have some sort of ADHD situation, who knows what else. But I'm only noticing this because people are talking about it and noticing differences in how I process the world. So we all process the world differently. And so what I think in my play studio, we have a lot of kids from different wirings, let's say. And so what I'm trying to teach the kids in so I'm not teaching them, but I'm trying to expose them to the fact that they're different from one another, but that's not a bad thing. So for instance, we could be I'm noticing how to deal with a child who gets upset about, gets overwhelmed. And I'm learning the signs of what this child gets when they get overwhelmed. I can see their facial expressions. I'm learning to listen to their tone of voice, their rapid speech, all these different things. And I am watching this and thinking, aren't children supposed to be helping one another also with this? Like if you saw someone fall down, they hurt their knee and they're crying, I've been trying to teach the kids to run over and ask to check in on them. Like, let's check in on them. This is really important. If you had fallen, you would want someone to check on you. So I'm doing this check-in with kids and their emotions. If someone gets upset and they kind of lose their marbles, and at my house, that looks like a kid will run up into another area and scream and yell and do the thing and kind of get off on their own. And I can see that sort of happening. So I'm trying to show the kids that they can learn that too. Did you notice, or have you seen so-and-so's face right now? Let's look now at their face. What are they saying to you? You know, what does their face look like? Show me, and they can like furrow their eyebrows. Or there's one kid who will just go, when he's mad. I'm like, it's kind of obvious. That's like a sure sign that maybe we should back off instead of the situation. And so I'm trying to coach them on how to be aware of other kids and how they operate. And again, to tell kids that's fine because we are all different, instead of putting them aside, moving them somewhere else, we can interact and give them, I've heard this, one of the kids will say, do you need some time alone? That's awesome, right? Do you want some alone time? Or the kids will notice, I need some alone time. And so we honor that. If someone needs alone time, where do you need alone time? What does that look like for you? And just listening to them and honoring them. And, just knowing that I process things differently too. I have a very sensitive personality and I will cry at the drop of a hat. And,
Oh,
hello. It's
oh
and
my God. I cry at commercials.
it's yes.
I cry at billboards.
Yeah.
And I blame it on my dad. My dad was extremely emotional and cried all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So, I got that somewhere in the genes. I got that. The cry one. My mom, I don't think I ever saw my mom cry, but my dad cried.
Interesting. I know my mother didn't cry either. Um, Hardly ever. It's interesting. Anyway, and I know that from school, like going back in my own history, I remember being a very sensitive kid crying I remember particularly trying to draw the letter K in capital, no, cursive, and I couldn't do it. And I don't know why my brain was not working with my hand, right? And I just burst into tears. And I remember being just mortified. And I'm grateful for that teacher. She was calm. She didn't punish me. She didn't take me out of the class. She just sat next to me and just let me be for a while, and I gained control of myself. And so that's what I'm hoping that other kids will learn how to do. I've heard a lot of this. Oh, this makes me sad, and I might cry just just remembering. So it happens every year. There's someone in a classroom. So the kids come to my house after school and I hear what happens in the classroom. Oh, today we had to empty the classroom because so and so, so and so, the bad kid in the class
Oh,
caused a big ruckus, and he's just a bad kid. And so we have these conversations where I'm just like, oh, I'm trying to hold space for that poor kid, because all the other kids are like, yeah, I heard he has a bad family life, and I heard this and I heard that, and he's just bad. He always makes bad decisions. And I'm like, imagine how it feels to be that kid,
yes.
trying to like give them that idea. I bet that's really tough. I bet they didn't mean to, they must be going through a hard feeling in their body at that point. Um, and it's hard. There's no way you could tell a kid, you could tell a person. Not anyone wants to be that. No one says, I can't wait to be known for being the bad kid in class, right? And so anyway, I'm trying to have that conversation with the kids, like, everybody's different. I bet they're having a really hard time in their feelings. So that must be hard. And just to at least give them an idea, there's a different way to look at it. Because, the conversation they're having at home with their parents is, well, oh, that's their family life, or, whatever. And we're not talking about what it feels like.
For the child who's doing it, right?
Yeah, it's
And
an overwhelm.
and what I get from that story is, where are they hearing that the child has a bad family life, or where are they hearing that he's a bad kid, right? So,
Mhm.
and that piece sort of, because children, if an adult, until they get to a better age, we did Kohlberg stages of moral development this last week in class, and it was fascinating.
Mhm.
All the different perspectives that they had in Kohlberg's moral stages of development, which I love. And it when we're in the different stages of Kohlberg, we might act one way but believe something else. Like the one with the third stage is like good boy, bad boy. And
Mm.
so we may not want to appear to be a bad boy. So we act like a good boy, but we make decisions that are not necessarily good, right? And we do that intentionally, not because of the feelings that we have on the inside. And so when we think about children who are neurodivergent, you know, the one thing I love about this new research with it is that we used to try to change them
Hmm.
instead of embrace them.
Right.
And so we used to try to well, and we still unfortunately do way too much of medication to try to get them to comply when the medication is not helping them or you see
Hmm.
the different perspectives that this child may have and how that child processes, right? So if we were to take this poor child who had this meltdown, I I don't want to focus on the meltdown. I want
Right.
to focus on what caused the meltdown.
The
And
buildup. Something.
yeah, well, how many nonverbal cues did this child give me
Right.
before they lost it, right? Because no one was seeing the
Hmm.
nonverbal cues. Or maybe, and I've seen this happen in classrooms before any of this new research came out, the child is, maybe the parent was running late for work. So it's put on your shoes, hurry up. Why didn't you brush your teeth? You have to finish breakfast. I'm going to be late. Get in the car. No, get your seatbelt on. No, blah, 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 blah. And then they walk into the classroom and the teacher says, put up your backpack, hang up your coat. We're going to get, and they're just like, they explode,
Right. Right.
not because of a horrible thing that happened to them or what children may not experience every day. Maybe we're not always late, but today in particular, it was rush, 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 hurry, 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 direct, direct, direct. And then I walk into the classroom, and instead of a teacher looking at the way the child's body language is, and that they may have a certain expression on their face, or they may be clenching their fists, or they may be really rigid, saying, good morning, so and so,
Hmm.
where would you like to play? And then maybe this one day, let me help you with your backpack and coat. And where would you like to play? And let's go walk around until you see something that looks, would you like, if you need time alone, let me know that. Right. So just, I keep going back to, please remember that every adult in your life and every child in your life is a human, and we're not all the same.
We'll
So
have
if
to a conference, and the speaker will announce, okay, everyone, I just want you to know that, if you are hungry, feel free to get up and get something to eat. If you need to get up to go to the bathroom or stretch, feel free to take care of your needs. Do we do that to children? We don't
no,
do it. And so if you came into that space having, ran into traffic, your dog threw up before you got there, we honor that as an adult, but children are not allowed to bring these things. I don't know if you've heard of the term, like, the spoons theory. I don't know. To me, it's sort of like more like a battery. Like, you start out your day with a certain amount of spoons. Don't ask me why it's spoons, but it could be like a
whatever.
battery's full, and then something takes you, wake up and you already are depleted. Like, you didn't plug your phone in overnight, and so you're already depleted. You start out your day not fully charged, so then
Mm-hmm.
one thing hits you, another thing hits you, and so kids are the same way. They only
Yes.
have so much to give. So that's what's nice about my program too, is they come here and you can do whatever you need to regulate, but they need to learn what that looks like. Do I need a snack? So I'll say a little reminder, you know maybe you haven't had, check to see if you need a snack, check with your body, those kinds of things. And so I'm hoping that can move forward toward looking outside of themselves, because they're very egocentric. But we, as a group, we try to be real close, and I'm trying to let them see other people and what they are about. um, like, there's one kid who really enjoys being funny, and he is hilarious when it's the right timing. So I'll look at him and go, okay, I'm going to ask you to read the room right now. And he's like, what are you talking about? So we explain this. Okay, I know you love to be funny, and I'm glad you're funny, but you are now talking about poop jokes, and there are three girls sitting over here asking you, please stop, because we're not really liking it. But if you went up to a different area and you're with all the guys, they'd be dying laughing. So why don't we just like read the room.
Read the room. Yeah. Well, and what that does is just imagine what that does for their ability
Mm-hmm.
to understand coworkers in the future, or to pick up on their spouse or significant others'
Mm-hmm.
emotions and feelings, and to be present with them in those feelings. It's just the nonverbal cues, I think, is what we're losing,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
they,
we're not reading faces. We're not seeing faces very often.
yeah,
We're in class, we're usually facing forward. We're seeing the teachers' faces. So I don't know. In Washington State, they just passed a law that says that schools have to have at least 30 minutes of recess time, which is kind of a different subject right now, but I feel like it's very important. That's what we need to practice, being together, face to face, interacting. So I'm glad that at least we have that, but I was kind of surprised. 30
just
minutes.
30 minutes.
Like, that's kind of
I
sad.
know. Well, and they're having to do that because they're not getting recess, right? And it's really interesting. Debbie Ray talks all the time about the Link Project, which
Mm,
is her model for helping schools everywhere bring in the Finland
mm,
model of recess throughout the day. And one of what the Finland model does is, for every, I think it's every 45 minutes, but it could be every hour, but I think it's every 45 minutes. Every 45 minutes of instruction, students have 15 minutes of recess.
okay.
And the 15 minutes starts when they reach the playground,
Mm,
and the 15-minute ends when they line up to come back in. And
wow.
so it is, and they get that every 45 minutes of academics or whatever they're
Mm,
doing at that point in time. Every 45 minutes, they get a 15-minute break. And that is in addition to their recess,
right, right.
right? And so I think what she tries to get them to do is every hour in the US, because we're so crazy. But what sometimes happens when these laws go into place with recess is that teachers will start counting the 30 minutes of required recess when they're having kids clean up before recess, line up before recess,
Mm,
walk to the playground, and then the 30 minutes ends when they get back into the classroom, right? And so they're really not getting
right.
30 minutes of recess, because there's all these transitions that are eating up time. And one of the things that Debbie also talks about, when school districts say, yes, we're going to try this, and their test results soar and behavior problems go away and all this stuff. But one of the things that she says to them is the teachers have to go with them for these breaks.
Right.
And the teachers can't interfere unless there's some hazardous situation. But the teachers need to walk around the playground. They need to get some physical exercise too. And there was one other big piece that she says to them. Oh, it flew in and flew out. It'll come back in a minute. It's been happening all day.
I
Um,
would recommend is that everyone, whether you're a parent, heck, if you're a doctor, a therapist, all walks of life, I think everyone should sit and just watch kids play at a playground sometime and just watch them. I don't know if recently you saw this thing that was thrown up somewhere. I don't know if it was Facebook or something. Someone was sharing these pictures, and this kind of gets off topic again.
no, it's okay. We'll
So
bring it
it
back.
visually, um, there was a green side or a blue side and a pink side, and there's a bunch of squiggles. And on the other side, there's a bunch of squiggles. And one is kind of going crazy, and the other one's kind of like in one area. And I'm like, oh, what is this? So I'm reading it, and apparently it's some study someone did where I don't know how they monitored kids' movement through play at a playground or at a school, and they
Mhm.
showed all boys were like all over the place. The blue lines were just all over. They used every square inch of their playground, and the girls were all like all over here in this little tiny area doing whatever, playing house or whatever. And they're like, they I don't know what their statement was about it, but I thought, oh my gosh, just I want to strap something on a child and just watch what they do. Just one kid, just
Uh-huh.
everything they say, everything they do, and where they go. And they
Mhm.
would be so surprised to see the fluidity and the constant movement and the planning and the executing and the imagination and the inventiveness and the fearlessness.
Initiative and exploration and joy. Let's start there with joy. The
Oh,
joy.
oh. And so I think when we're getting back to the topic of having all kids, no matter what their neurodiversity, we need them to be able to interact with one another. And that's at the private school I'm at too. I see a lot of that. They've all figured out how to get along. There's hardly any fighting, and there's of course disagreements, but they work it through, and they get to know each kid's personality because they have plenty of time to play outside. And I just it's so huge. Play that kind of like will solve everything if you let it. Like I really feel like we've already tried academics top down
Uh-huh.
really, really hard, man. We have pushed this academics down to kindergarten and beyond. Do you remember the book called Everything I Needed to Know I Learned in
Learned
Kindergarten?
in kindergarten. Yeah, that not anymore.
I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh. It said it was
That was
vintage. It
and
was a
wasn't
vintage.
that
Oh my God.
Art Linkletter? Wasn't that Art Linkletter that did that?
What was his name? I wrote it down somewhere.
Art
Oh,
Linkletter? I
yeah.
want to
It was,
say it was Art Linkletter.
but
I can't remember. Somebody look it up and let me know.
and it's not even true anymore. The things like I was thinking like, oh my gosh, yeah, you must share. You must. I'm like looking at all these things. I'm like, no, it's not even kindergarten anymore. We're
No,
doing
that's not
like we're pushing
kindergarten.
all off, and it's like,
It's not
ba-
even preschool anymore in many cases. That's the sad
oh,
part.
and then I go, okay, is it working?
No.
Can we all agree it is not working? It is not working. So why do we keep pushing it? I just don't understand. Like all the studies are saying, why aren't we listening to the studies? So that
Mhm.
gets me off on a whole nother thing. Why don't we have a campaign or some sort of like play needs some sort of a uh what do you call it?
Public service announcement.
Yes, we have to have PSAs, and we have to have big banners that say in big bold letters what play is and what play is not, so that
Mhm.
people can understand it. Because it's like trying to define, it's trying to like catch little dust particles. It's
It is. I agree with you. And I think one of the things that we have to honor with every child is that child,
Mhm.
not their ability levels. Well, I mean, if we were just respectful of each child's development, wherever that child is in their development, and not just academic development, but it would our our classrooms would be happier, our children would be happier if we just were respectful of children. And what I think you're doing with your kids who come to you
Mhm.
is you're giving them those lessons that nobody else has. You're
Right,
asking them to take somebody else's perspective. What do you think that child was feeling? What
right,
what how could we have supported that child instead of had to, get out of the class? How
right.
can you help your friend? What is your friend's body language and facial expressions telling you? And
Mhm.
what do you what have you learned about what they're trying to communicate? And what do you think they need right now? Those
Yeah.
are amazing skills that every child, every adult, hello, needs to have been exposed to. And
Mhm.
so I think everything that you're doing is amazing. So I want you to keep going, but I want us to think about some final comments you want to make as we wrap up this one, because you'll be back for two or three or more of those others that we've been talking about.
um, well, I just want it to be normalized that we're not all average,
Mm-hmm.
and I hope that that comes out in the bottom line of everything. We should all feel comfortable being around one another, and I don't like the othering, of people.
Yes.
Everyone's welcome at my house, everyone. And so one of the things I say to the kids is, are your feelings more important than other people's feelings?
Mm-hmm.
It's a big moment because I mean, in a way, yes, like, right? My feelings, I I want to feel good, and I sort of don't care what other people feel, but in the long term, it's better, and to work through that with the kids,
Mm-hmm.
more fun environment, right? If everyone kind of listens to one another and we're just like a big family. Um,
And I think if those relationships that we build and the practice that you're giving them, and what do you think? What is that? Oh, look over here. I'm not sure
yeah.
certain people here are enjoying your jokes.
Right.
So where else could you go that it might be more receptive, right? So not you can't do that, right? It's read I love the read the room thing because as adults sometimes we don't read the room.
Right.
And children, unless they have experience learning those skills, don't know how to read a room because they're still again
Yeah.
so egocentric. Oh, oh, so good, Tamara, so good. All right, hold there while I close this out. To learn more about IPA USA, please visit our website at ipausa.org. And until next time, keep on playing.